All right, well, let's bring in Senator Tammy Nichols. I know she's under a time crunch here. Hey, Senator, thank you so much for joining us.
Good afternoon, Matt. How are you?
I'm pretty well.
Good.
You, yeah. So you're head of the Senate Agricultural Committee. You're the chairwoman there, and I know that there's a bill that might not come across your committee, and it's getting a lot of attention because this deals with glyphosate. It deals with Monsanto, a lot of things that the common person is always wary about. And so we kind of wanted to get your take on this because we've seen a bill over the past couple of years that would seek to sort of give immunity to the makers of these products in order to still allow their products to be used in Idaho. And now we have a new bill this year that's somewhat different than what we've seen years before. Can you catch us up to speed on the issue and what we might be dealing with?
Yeah, I can touch briefly on that because we have not had anything come over on our side at this time. But I have been in conversations with the House side and also with the proponents of this piece of legislation. And so, yes, last year there were three attempts to try to bring in a similar piece of legislation that was an immunity bill, basically a labeling immunity bill, basically saying that if you put this proper label on, that if anyone became sick or ill or whatever the case may be, that the company basically had immunity to paying out anything if they were found guilty and yada yada. So this year there have been, I believe, 21 states that they're trying to run similar bills or bills that have some tweaks into it into the states this year, Idaho being one. They tried it in 3 states last year. All 3 states failed. And again, in Idaho last year, it was attempted 3 times. So this year, it's a similar bill. There hasn't been a ton of changes to it. They started with a more broader bill that would have basically given immunity to all sorts of different types of entities, like car manufacturers and clothing. I mean, just a wide array of different types of immunity. This one now scales it down to a couple of products, textiles and food that is grown. So there's two different things there. I still have issues with it because, again, it is giving this immunity without anyone being able to say, hey, look, I was damaged by this, or I was hurt by this, or I became ill by this. And they tell us, well, the science shows that glyphosates don't cause any problems, but I can find all sorts of science that says the opposite of that. And people are really concerned about what's happening with their food products, what's going into their foods, what's being used on their foods, pesticides, all that sort of stuff. And while I'm completely in support of our farmers and agriculture and all of that, I want to make sure that we're not hurting people and that we're keeping people healthy. And that if something does happen, I mean, we're not saying you can't use these products right now at this time. We're not banning these products or anything. But if there is responsibility and someone gets injured or someone gets sick and they can prove that, then there should be liability that comes forward on their behalf. So right now it is over into the House side. I haven't seen it come over here, but we're keeping an eye on things, and we'll see what happens. Let's see.
Oh, can you not hear me? Can you hear me
Now
now?
I can hear you. Yep.
Okay, okay. This reminded me. This reminds me a little bit about how vaccine manufacturers back in the day were given immunity for their vaccines, and so
Right.
and people got upset. Well, like we've seen a lot of vaccine injuries, and you're not allowed to take a case against the vaccine manufacturer. So I think there's a little there's somewhat worry here
Right.
when an entire industry says, "Hey, we want immunity," somewhat similar to that, and
Exactly.
uh, and so I think there's I mean, we have a cause to have a little bit of pushback or concern onto why they're pushing for this so hard.
Right, exactly. And that, and that's kind of where my mind goes, about giving the pharmaceutical industry vaccines that immunity, and that the government actually had to set up a special fund for if people are damaged, that there is this special fund that you might be able to, recoup from or recover from. And that's kind of where I could see this going. If this got passed, then does the government now have to set up a special fund for those that are injured? The other thing is that, this company, Bayer, they purchased Monsanto, which is the maker of these pesticide products, while they had numerous court cases that were going on. And so they purchased them knowing that there was these court cases and that there were issues. In some other countries, they have banned phosphate and the ability to be able to use products like this. But right now, we're just saying, I just think it's best practice that we don't go into this whole immunity thing, that, we let the courts decide. And if there is a cause of action that needs to come forward, that we allow that to happen, bring forth your evidence and let the courts determine, if you were guilty or not. But let's not stop people from being able to, recoup or to be made whole because of damages and issues that happened because they utilize the products and in a lot of cases utilize them correctly and still ended up with issues. So that's kind of where we're at on that. But we will continue to watch as the session progresses. But we're getting down to the wire on the session, so there's not going to be a lot of time left.
Yeah, that's very, very true. Yeah, we're watching it. We're watching. You guys are busy. Well, thank you so much for taking a quick time out to walk us through that. It's very important. People were messaging us and wanted to stay on top of it. So I appreciate you coming on.
Absolutely. You're welcome.
Yeah. And where can people follow you on social media and keep in touch with your work?
Yeah, follow me on pretty much every platform, Nichols for Idaho, or you can also go to my website, nicholsforidaho.com, and follow me on all the social media stuff and my Substack.
Fantastic. All right, Senator, thank you so much. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. You too.
Okay. Bye.